Welcome back to Crypto Shockwave, the channel where we break down the biggest stories in the XRP world and give you the analysis that actually matters for your portfolio. $15 billion. That is not a forecast. That is not a prediction. That is the real money that has already moved through XRP's network in Japan alone. And the institution behind it just announced something that changes the entire picture. While Western media was focused on price charts and bear traps, something historic was quietly happening on the other side of the world. Japan's SBI Remit just hit $15 billion in cumulative cross-border transfers, running entirely on Ripple's XRP bridge since 2021. And here's the part that should stop you cold. This is not a pilot program anymore. This is not a test. This is real money, moving through real banks, using XRP as the bridge asset right now. But here is what I really need you to stay for. Because buried inside this announcement is a detail so significant that it reveals exactly where XRP is heading next. And by the end of this video, you will understand why Japan may be the most important country on Earth for XRP holders right now. Let me show you everything. The story starts with a number that most Western analysts are completely ignoring. $15 billion. That is the total volume of cross-border transfers processed by SBI Remit using Ripple's XRP bridge since 2021. 5 years of real-world usage. 5 years of actual institutional transactions. Not theoretical, not projected. Done. SBI Remit is a subsidiary of SBI Holdings, one of Japan's most powerful financial conglomerates. And they did not just use XRP quietly. They built their entire international payments infrastructure around it. Every cross-border transfer, every foreign worker sending money home, every international settlement running through XRP. Think about what that means for a moment. In the United States, investors are still debating whether XRP has real utility. In Japan, a $15 billion institution already answered that question 5 years ago. But wait, because the $15 billion milestone is just the surface of this story. Underneath it, something far bigger is being built. As of April 2026, SBI Remit has expanded its Ripple-powered payments network to 26 Japanese banks. 26, not 2, not 5. 26 regulated financial institutions inside Japan, all processing cross-border payments using Ripple's distributed ledger technology. And this expansion is not slowing down, it is accelerating. The latest addition was Totori Bank, confirming its integration with the SBI Remit Ripple Payments Network in April 2026. Each new bank added is another node in a payment network that runs on XRP as its settlement layer. Here's why this matters to you directly. When 26 banks are processing daily transactions through a network that uses XRP as a bridge asset, that is not speculative demand. That is structural demand. Every single transaction creates real buying pressure on XRP. Every settlement requires real XRP to move. This is the utility case that XRP holders have been waiting years to see materialize. And it is happening, right now, in Japan. Now let me show you the second layer of this story. Because SBI is not stopping at remittances. Japan's cabinet approved a major amendment to the Financial Instruments and Exchange Act. The date was April 10, 2026. This amendment reclassifies XRP and 104 other crypto assets as financial instruments under Japanese law. What does that mean in plain language? It means XRP is now on the path to being treated the same way stocks and bonds are treated in Japan. Once this amendment clears the Japanese diet, implementation is set for fiscal 2027. The first crypto ETF approvals in Japan are targeted for fiscal 2028. And who is already building Japan's first XRP ETF? SBI Holdings, in direct partnership with Franklin Templeton. Franklin Templeton, one of the largest asset managers on the planet, with over $1.5 trillion under management, co-building an XRP ETF with SBI for the Japanese market. Let that land for a second. Because while American investors were watching XRP's price bleed lower in May, institutional giants were quietly positioning for the next wave of demand. But here is where it gets even more extraordinary. And this is the detail I promised you at the beginning. On March 31, 2026, SBI VC Trade became the first regulated distributor of Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin anywhere in Asia. RLUSD is Ripple's dollar-backed stablecoin, backed one-to-one by US dollar deposits and short-term US treasuries, with Deloitte providing monthly reserve attestations. As of February 2026, RLUSD had $1.568 billion in reserves, backing 1.49 billion tokens in circulation. Now think about what SBI has built. XRP for cross-border transfer speed, RLUSD for dollar settlement stability, a Franklin Templeton ETF for institutional investment, and 26 Japanese banks already integrated into the network. This is not a crypto company trying to sell a coin. This is a financial system being assembled piece by piece, and XRP is at the center of every single layer. SBI CEO Yoshitaka Kitao has publicly stated that Japanese banks have begun adopting XRP for international payments. He is not talking about the future. He is describing what is already happening today. The era of test phases in Japanese banking is officially over. The era of real-world deployment has begun. Now I want to give you the full picture, because this is not just a Japanese story. This is a global story that starts in Japan and spreads outward. Ripple has received regulatory approvals in the United Kingdom, Luxembourg, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. It has applied for a United States national banking license. Every market Ripple enters, SBI's model becomes the template. Build the remittance network, add the stablecoin layer, launch the ETF, integrate the banks. Japan is not a test case anymore. Japan is the blueprint. And here is the data that confirms the thesis. Daily transactions on the XRP ledger hit 3 million on March 15, 2026. That is a 300% increase from mid-2025 averages, driven by automated market maker pools, digital asset conversion flows, and RLUSD settlement activity. That is not speculative trading inflating the numbers. That is real network usage growing at an extraordinary pace. Ripple closed approximately 10 major institutional deals in 2026 alone, including a tokenized treasury pilot with JP Morgan, MasterCard, and Ondo Finance, built directly on the XRP ledger. The network is not just processing remittances anymore. It is becoming core financial infrastructure for some of the most powerful institutions on the planet. And yet, the price of XRP sits at $1.32 today. Here's the disconnect that every serious investor needs to understand. $15 billion moved, 26 banks integrated, Franklin Templeton building an ETF, JP Morgan on the ledger, 3 million daily transactions, Goldman Sachs holding $153 million in XRP ETFs, and the price is at $1.32. Either all of these institutions are wrong, or the price has simply not caught up yet. History shows us what happens when institutional infrastructure gets built before retail attention arrives. The same pattern played out with internet stocks in the late 1990s, with mobile payments in 2010, with cloud computing in 2015. The institutions always position early, retail always arrives late. Right now, in Japan, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, the institutions are positioning. The infrastructure is being built. The regulatory approvals are coming through. The ETFs are launching. The question is not whether XRP has real utility. Japan answered that question with $15 billion of evidence. The question is whether you understand what is being built here before the rest of the market figures it out. SBI is not just a remittance company using XRP. SBI is building the future of money in the world's third largest economy, and XRP is the foundation that everything else sits on top of. Moscow Exchange just launched an official XRP index this week. Russian investors are now accumulating XRP through a regulated exchange product. That is not one country adopting XRP. That is not two countries. Japan, the United States, the United Kingdom, Russia, Luxembourg, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. The adoption map is spreading faster than any mainstream analyst is reporting, and every single one of these markets started the same way Japan did. One institution, one network, one milestone number, and then the floodgates opened. Japan's floodgates opened at $15 billion. The rest of the world is just getting started. $15 billion was just the beginning. If this video changed the way you see XRP, hit that subscribe button right now, because what is coming next makes everything I just told you look small. I am Ethan Brooks. Stay wise, stay positioned, and I will see you in the next one.